from the Maryland Institute College of Art. I help work on our voter access initiative. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we've been working to integrate voter registration into our course registration. So we will dive right in. So I wanted to just start of a timeline of where we've been and where we are now, and just give you a whole overview. So we started working on this over a year ago, and we reached out to our operations and technology department. And unfortunately, at that time, we were not able to make too much progress on getting the link added to course registration. There were concerns about capacity and the programming that would be needed to do this. So we weren't able to do anything then. And then in June 2021, there was the Student and Military Voter Empowerment Act, and this happened in the state of Maryland, which meant the act's focus is that student and military voting rates are lower than the average American. And so this act was to target these populations and try to increase voter participation. And one element is that a voter registration link needs to be part of course registration for colleges and universities in the state of Maryland that use public funding. So because of that act, it was a huge, it really helped us make the argument at our school that we needed to figure out a way to make it happen. And so working with several teams in November, we were able to get a registration link added. And so I'll show you what that looked like. Unfortunately, that received fewer than 15 clicks, which is the marker that the act put in, which is not many clicks. So then we went through a process like the prior presentation. We created a student voting focus group. And so I'll share a little bit about the resource I created and how that impacted what we ended up doing this April. So just to show you, the first link that happened was getting it added to this. It's highlighted in yellow here. And this is what was selected less than 15 times. And so it's a little bit buried. It's not something you have to click on. And it wasn't too surprising that the impact that had. So, oops, I just gave away what happened there. So then we decided to create a how do I get back? And so when we created the focus group, the format was that we had 5 students, first come, first serve, including 3 hours of time. And each student received a $50 stipend. And so this was shared out on our campus app and targeted emails towards students that we had worked with in the past. And this is the format that we did. So here I took the session that we used and just created a template for anyone else to be able to use it with some instructions. So I'll just go through it really briefly because of time. But we included just a place for introductions, a spot just to learn about like what motivated students to join this group, and where students have learned about voter education and registration. And then once students responded, we used these diamonds to just have students put which ones they thought were most effective. So we knew for this year or moving forward, which ones to allocate more time and resources to. And then we asked what new spaces where students would best learn about voting. And then next is also similar to the last presentation, we did a journey map. So here I'm suggesting that you could pick going into it already what you know you want your students to talk about. And so for us, this is class registration, or you could pick another process that has a journey to it. And so this is the example of what hours look like, all the way from when you first get the catalog with information to on the right, once you're registered for classes. And the big takeaway here is just identifying areas where it's not the time to share about registering for voting, and opportunity areas, which are marked in blue. And what we learned was that students are going to this, the course registration page a lot, in that by adding something just more visible, but on the side, rather than a pop-up that's going to interfere with the process. That's what our students said would be most effective. So that resulted in adding a button to the top of the page. So whether students are just going to look at classes before they register, whether they're in the waiting period, it's always at the top, bright pink. And so far, it's been selected 72 times, and it's just gone in April. So we're already well beyond the first iteration of this. And here's the offices that we work with. And just some overview tips is, if you get a no in this process, it could just mean not yet. Be patient, because class registration is an important and protected process for many reasons. Consider other ways during the class registration process that you could embed voter registration outside of the portal, in case you run into barriers there. And in addition, convene a student voting focus group to determine how best to integrate it into course registration. And if your course registration page is embedded on another site, like ours was, you may be able to edit the site and not the registration page. So that's really helpful when you run into challenges regarding coding. And I'll stop my share there.